Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Inside Scoop. I am Sam Beveridge, Customer Risk Manager with Ardent Mills Solutions. Finally, the suspense is over as the USDA released their September supply and demand report to validate the current crop size of the U.S. corn and soybean crops, as late plantings and poor weather have affected crops this summer. The USDA has created positive news for corn and soybean markets, moving them higher post-report. The corn outlook calls for reduced production, lower ethanol usage, and slightly higher end stocks. The USDA reduced the corn yield from 169.5 bushel per acre to 168.2 bushels to give us grain production forecasts of 13.8 billion bushels. This is down 1% from the previous forecast and down 4% from last year. In soybeans, the outlook gave us lower production and lower ending stocks, pegging production now at 3.63 billion bushels, which is down 1% from the previous forecast and down a whopping 20% from last year. Chinese trade talks have also given beans a lift post-report. As wheat remained quiet, there are potential issues brewing to keep the market's eye on wheat moving ahead. When we come back, we will discuss the potential of what could happen next. Hello, and welcome back. In corn, the yield was reduced from 169.5 bushels per acre to 168.2, decreasing production 102 million bushels from the August report. The USDA also cut ethanol demand by 25 million bushels to increase beginning stocks and give the corn market another 9 million bushels of supply from last month. Acreage estimates remain at 82 million for harvested acres, so we now wait for harvest results to validate the USDA data we are seeing today versus what we continue to hear from the fields. Moving on to soybeans, we saw production for beans forecasted at 3.63 billion bushels, down 1% from the previous forecast and down 20% from last year. Based on conditions as of September 1st, yields are expected to average 47.9 bushels per harvested acre, down 0.6 bushels from the previous forecast and down 3.7 bushels from 2018. Harvested acres remain unchanged at 75.9 million for this year, but we are still down 14% year over year. This is the lowest soybean yield that we've seen since 2014 and the lowest production we've seen in 6 years. With the tighter view on beans, the market turned positive as US-China trade talks caught the market's attention. Trump was busy on the tweet machine again Thursday, saying that he would delay tariffs for the first 2 weeks of October, and rumors quickly made headlines as 500,000 to 2 million tons of soybeans traded from the U.S. without the 30% tariff charge. Are we finally reaching a resolution on these things? We shall see. For wheat, there were no changes in production in the U.S. as we expected. The only major adjustment made was a drop of 10 million bushels in hard wheat exports, but that was replaced with additional exports of 5 million in soft wheat and 5 million in spring wheat. Where we start to see issues in the wheat crop of this year is around the world. Weather has started to take its hand in production cuts as the USDA reduced the Australian crop 2 million metric tons and the Black Sea region dropped a total of 2.5 million. Conversely, Europe saw a 1 million metric ton production gain. While this is not much, this takes 3.5 million metric tons away from the major export players and makes us question the need for the market to come to the U.S. for hard wheat at some point, now that prices are on par. In closing, this report gave us some positive news and some negative news on the price direction and volatility. We continue to have a surplus in wheat, corn, and soybeans, but the carryout is starting to erode ever so slightly. Corn needed a large change to turn all the markets bullish, but soybeans have seemed to find a foothold. Wheat will continue to be a developing story on world production and trade flow. From a flour perspective, please continue to reach out to discuss the markets and timing of purchases. Futures and basis will continue to show volatility, and we are here to answer any of your questions you may have. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching.